Should I be concerned?
No. You see it?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
All right. She has not let them in yet. Let them in. Let them in. All right. Welcome, everyone. I know we have everyone's starting to join. Hope you're doing well this, I was going to say fine February day. Wow, I'm already ready. I'm a week ahead. My mind is there. I hope everyone's doing well this fine January day. We still got a week left. As you know, in tradition, we always ask a question at the start, just as we're waiting for people to join. So today we have two questions. One, what is a New Year's resolution that you have already broken? And this is also a great time to recommit as you think through. And then secondly, a little more work related, as you think of if you had somebody that was completely onboarded, trained, ready to go, what is the first task that you would have them do? So just two questions to think on, one a little more relevant to today's topic and one a little more relevant to just where we're at right now in the month. I'd say the resolution I've already broken. Oh, that's a good question. I didn't really set resolutions yet. I always do it at the end of the month just because I need to like ease into the year. So I guess that's my workaround. Yeah, I'm very curious to see what I mean, I guess fitness is always kind of on there, right? That's the ongoing, ever present. And a new employee. What is the first task that you'd have them do? Sounds like we've got a little bit of a quiet bunch today. Excited to have you all. Great group. I'd say this is probably the most we've had at the start as well, and also the quietest. So we got to change that, everyone. Come on. Well, in the chat. Thank you. I apologize. Yeah, if you can just drop that in the chat. Reach out to members and assess needs and satisfaction. Exercise more. Kristen, I'm with you there. Follow the socials of members. Mine would probably actually be a little less on social personally. For work I do, but personally I think that's the one I've fallen off the bandwagon from. Hello from Alexandria. Oh yes, Iman, bringing it in. We always say as well where you're joining us from. Wow, we are out of sorts today. So where you're joining us from as well. Dry January. No comment. My only resolution is to be able to do a pull-up. Hey, you got plenty of time. Resolution, make my bed every day. Hey, you know what? Working on it that's progress. Read every day, design graphics. A lot of great things here. I love seeing this. So as everyone's joining, if you'd like, you're invited to continue to just jot down in the chat there an answer of those two questions. We will go ahead and welcome everyone officially to today's webinar, which is the profound role of AI in revolutionizing chamber management. I'd say this is, again, a very hot topic, and we've seen a lot of interest. So we're very excited to see everyone on today. We have Zach Giglio joining us. And just as a reminder, Institute is a CAE and a CCE approved provider. And so as being on the webinar today with us, it does qualify for 1 hour of CAE credit and 1 point of CCE credit. And again, if you're present today, you can request that certificate by emailing us. I'll put that email in the chat here. And both the recording of the webinar today and the materials presented will be available in our webinars and resource center on our website. Typically about 48 hours, the recording will be available and the resources much sooner. As we are starting and as questions arise, we do really encourage you to write those in the chat throughout, especially on this topic because it is ever evolving and somewhat very new. There's a lot of unfamiliar concepts or things brought up. If there's something that's unfamiliar to you or something you're not understanding, please ask for clarity in the chat. It's likely you're not the only one. So please, again, feel comfortable to ask. And we want it to be a more conversational tone today as we go through, asking and pausing as there's questions and clarity that we'd like more thoughts on. Zach also will be available after the webinar concludes today for 30 minutes for a more extensive Q&A. And at that time, we will end the recording of the presentation. And we will, for those that are able to stay on for 30 minutes, you are welcome. And Zach has set aside that time for more extensive Q&A if that's needed. So we'll go ahead and introduce Zach with us. So Zach is a seasoned marketing and communications professional, leveraging a decade of experience with AI technology to scale organizations' marketing, sales, and administration strategies and campaigns. He's a frequent speaker at conferences and provides insights into the convergence of AI and marketing and runs in-depth AI and marketing workshops. His consulting acumen aids diverse clients from Fortune 500 companies to startups in crafting communication strategies and enhancing capabilities. And beyond work, Zach serves on 2 nonprofit boards and is a passionate traveler, a wine enthusiast, and a storyteller. He lives in Charleston, South Carolina, balancing an active professional life with his love for family and culture. I'm very excited to turn the time now over to Zach.
Thank you very much, Cece, and I'm very excited by being here or to be here. So I think everybody, it seems like a really good group. Is 125 people in this call, which is a relatively large number. You are all ahead of the curve. So even though AI is something that a lot of people are talking about, and it's something that a lot of people know, they have to get. All right, hey Simone, over in Berkeley. I saw someone in Hilton Head too. So even though a lot of people know that AI is out there and they should be learning more, most people aren't. Most professionals actually still aren't actually using AI in a thoughtful way in their professional capabilities. And so you are all here are ahead of the curve. Most of the world isn't doing what you're doing now, which is learning a little bit more and how to not just learn about AI, but learn about it in a way that can be actually impactful in your roles and responsibilities, and particularly through with chamber management. So I'll just skip through this. We are going to move a little quickly because I just got a very nice introduction from Cece. Thank you very much. And I will also, just as Cece did, encourage you to please reach out in the chat with questions. So I'm going to try and pack a good amount in here so you all can walk away with something and being able to do something after this that you weren't able to do before you joined this webinar. But as I move through, there might be some things that you want to know a little bit more about, or it might be confusing. So please just ask a question throughout, and we'll also stop to make time for questions. Almost every time I do a presentation on AI, someone will ask a question, and almost everybody else in the room, when it's a physical room, will not. So again, you will not be the first one to do it or to be
And
thinking
real
that.
quick, Zach, this is Cece. Real quick, if there's any way, it sounds like the audio might be coming through a little bit quiet. So I don't know if there's a way to speak a little louder or just lean in a little bit closer just to increase the audio, if there's a way to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, let me try again, and please interrupt me if it doesn't get better, and I'm going to take these AirPods out, which sometimes helps. So we're going to cover basically 5 things, and there'll be a free resource guide at the end. So we're going to talk about standing out and connecting with your audience. We'll do an intro to AI. We'll talk about how to engage with AI, making AI your digital double. So not just that you're using any AI tool, but that you're using it in a way that feels, sounds, talks, and thinks like you and your chamber. And then some use cases, very specific, and that will show you on how AI can help you do things like boost member engagement, which I saw a bunch of you would have a new employee do that, reaching out to your members, how it could help you scale your advocacy campaigns, and how you can also scale your multi-channel marketing campaigns as well. So before we get started in AI, I just always want to remind people that AI cannot help you do something that you don't already know how to do. AI can scale your abilities and your expertise, but let's say you don't really have any marketing ability or experience. If you try to then use AI to do your marketing, you're going to have a lot of trouble creating effective marketing campaigns. Same thing, if you don't really know how to engage your members, AI is not going to step in. AI is going to help you do things that you already know how to do, just help you do it a lot more efficiently. But because a lot of people can use AI, what's going to happen is it's going to be a lot more, we're all going to be more inundated with emails and text messages and posts and newsletters and all of this stuff. And that forces us to really just think about how we connect with our audience, and in this case, our members. And the way that we do that is we appeal to emotion and trust. We know that 90% of all decisions are made using emotion, and we use logic to justify those decisions to ourselves and to other people. We also know that 63% of people will buy or advocate for a brand based on their belief and values. So when you're creating content, and it could be sales, it could be emails, newsletters, blog posts, advocacy outreach, anything like that. You want to make sure that who you are as an organization, who you are as a chamber, what you represent and your values is always at the heart of all of that. So it'll be a lot of fun, particularly once you're up and running with AI, to be able to create tons of content and emails and outreach and member engagement. But you always want to remember that putting who you are at the center of all of that is going to enable people to connect with you on a much deeper level. And that's how we're going to continue to stand out among the increasing noise. So before we get too deep into how AI can help, let's first talk a little bit about what is AI, and actually, very importantly, what AI isn't. So what can AI do, but what can AI not really do? So there's a lot of different definitions out there. Here's one of them that also makes a lot of sense. But essentially, AI is has been created to mimic human thinking and understanding and to perform tasks in a human-like manner. It will probably never be as good at making decisions or as doing things as human beings because there's so much about the way we make decisions that we don't quite understand ourselves. And so our ability to train a computer to be able to think and act exactly like us is going to be very difficult. But there are some AI models that can pass what's called the Turing test, and that's basically if I am not able to distinguish the output of something that was created by AI and something that was created by a human, then that AI passes the Turing test. So that's just what AI is. We've all been recipients of AI. If you think about Netflix when they suggest movies or Amazon when they suggest products to buy, that's AI. The difference now is that we have the ability to use AI as a tool through what's called natural language models. So just talking to an AI tool the way we would talk to a coworker, a colleague, or a friend. So they've done some studies. I'm sure you all know this. This is why you're here, but on AI's ability to really increase efficiency. But what is probably most interesting about that is that AI actually also helps level the playing field. So what we see is that what they consider, this was done by Harvard Business School and the Boston Consulting Group, this study, what they saw is that people they considered to be below average performers actually got a much higher increase than people they considered to already be above average performers. And that's the increase in the quality of their work. The way I think about this too is I have a small business and we don't have a lot of full-time people, but we're trying to compete and do the work of a much larger business. And so I would consider my business to be below average in the sense that we're under resourced compared to the businesses that I want to compete with. I think if you look at what AI can do for a business like mine compared to a business that's already well staffed, it's obviously a lot more for me. And what they found across everyone is that AI helped professionals complete 12% more tasks in 25% quicker time and improve, very importantly, the quality of work by 40%. But what are some ways that AI can actually improve productivity? Well, my favorite way is ending blank page syndrome. So it could be, I need to send an email out to someone or reply to an email and I don't know how to get started, or I need to draft content or write member engagement emails or educate my members about a certain issue or a piece of legislation that could affect their business. AI is very good at ending blank page syndrome. So you can start talking with it, asking for ideas. It helps you generate those ideas. You might say, conduct a search and say, what are the main issues affecting businesses in my community over the past 3 months? And then once they send that, say, I like number one, can you please give me some ideas for content or blog articles or something like that? It can streamline longer form content. It can help you develop those longer emails or longer blog posts or even website copy in a much quicker way than without the tools. It could help you prospect and personalize member engagement. So I know different chambers get new member or prospective member lists in different ways. But once you have that list, or even if it's with current members, you can get these tools to craft or tweak existing content. It could be an email or a newsletter, not just for a specific industry, but actually for a specific company or a specific person at that company. And so rather than writing one email to 100 people, you can write 100 emails to 100 people in a much quicker way. And again, when content is being, the increase in cadence of content is really going high, it's more and more important to speak directly to a person than it is to just broadcast broadly. It can scale mail merge and scale multi-channel marketing campaigns. So let's say you have a blog post or a video or a transcript, you can plug that in and you could ask it to create 10 LinkedIn posts, 10 Facebook posts, newsletter section, blog post, website copy, all these different things from that one piece of content, which is something that most marketers will try to do, and it will save you a lot of time. And a really good thing that people overlook is editing and proofreading. It's actually really great at helping you, if you've been writing something for a while, you plug it into ChatGPT or Bard and ask it to do a proofread, and it provides really good recommendations. I'm going to stop for a second because I want to show you when I say AI model, or if I say an AI tool, I want to show you exactly what I'm talking about. And so this is ChatGPT. So here, this is an AI model or an AI tool. Here is the prompt window. So you're going to hear me say prompting. Prompting is basically just entering your text into this window. And let me just go over like a quick example of how you would engage with a tool. You could literally start by saying, I am thinking of writing a blog article about how AI can help chambers of commerce engage with members better. Now, I don't even have to tell it what to do yet. I'm just starting to have a conversation. That's great. Artificial intelligence can significantly enhance how chambers of commerce interact with their members. Here are some key points you might consider including. So now let's say, okay, I really like personalized communication. That's important. So now I can go back and say, I really like number one. What would be a good outline for an article about that? So what I'm doing now is I'm just going to make it do that. So what I'm doing now, this is when I say prompting, engaging with AI. This is what I'm talking about. But this ChatGPT is not the only one. There are several other really good tools out there. So one of them is Google has one that's called Bard. That's what this looks like, bard.google.com. And then one that I also really like to use is called Copy AI. So I just wanted to get you a sense because a lot of times some people maybe haven't used this yet, and it might be difficult to envision what I'm talking about when I'm saying we can do all this stuff. Before I get into the limitations of AI, any questions about what AI is, what AI can do? Someone's a fan of Bard. Yeah, it's funny. Um, um, Different people like different tools. It's Raymond. Different people like different tools. Love ChatGPT. I used to be a bigger fan of Bard. Then I became a bigger fan of ChatGPT. Now I use 3 or 4 different um, tools at the same time. So that was so Lori asked, was that the free or paid version of ChatGPT? That was the paid version of ChatGPT, which can browse the internet. It can produce imagery, which is really incredible, which I can show you. And also you get access to a lot of their like new GPT stores that they're doing. Charlie, use it daily for editing and proofreading. That's great. It's funny how people overlook its ability to do something like that. But particularly if you have a small team, I used to work at a really large PR firm and we'd have 5 people editing everything that I did. I don't have that luxury anymore. Now I use AI. Do you have to pay to use ChatGPT? No, there is a free version that is very powerful. It's not as powerful as the paid version, but it is good. Bard has a better free version. So if you use Google's Bard, bard.google.com, you don't have to pay for that, and you get more than you get with ChatGPT's free version, but they're both good. The other tool that I mentioned after Bard is called copy.ai. Let's put it into the chat. That's really good for a lot of different reasons. It basically is built on top of ChatGPT, but it has so much other like workflow functionality built in it, which is really, really great. Let's see. Yeah. I've only used ChatGPT. Yeah, I mean, you probably get really far with using ChatGPT, but I like using multiple different models. Sometimes you might notice is one tool will go down or not work right for one day, and you don't want to be stopped in your workflow. So it's good to kind of know maybe two or three different tools. Do you have to create an actual account with all these platforms? Yes. Google will just use your existing Google account that you can sign into. ChatGPT, you do need to create a new account, and Copy AI, you do need to create a new account. All right, good questions. Thank you, and please keep them coming. So let's go to the limitations because this is equally as important, if not maybe more. So AI can do a lot for us, but there's a lot that it can't do, and there's a lot that it gets wrong. It can inadvertently include inaccuracies or misinterpretations, particularly for people who use it a lot. I'm sure you've seen this, where it'll give you an answer that's wrong. It can struggle with nuances of culture, language, context, not really understand sarcasm, which is a problem for me because that's like my second language. Give answers that are plain wrong, lack the memory and ability to understand longer conversations. So, what I mean by that is every tool has a character limit, or I guess a limit to what it can remember. So if you remember, you saw me engaging with the tool. I said, what are some ideas or what's going on? What are some ideas about writing an article for chambers who want to use AI to engage with members better? And it did that. And then I answered, and then it gave me something else. And I keep answering, and I had this long conversation. After a while, the character limit will cut off its memory, so the tool will kind of forget above whatever is beyond that character limit of its memory. And it's like you're having a completely new or different kind of conversation. So that is a challenge. You have to sometimes completely reframe the context. It won't see people as individuals. So it knows that like Zach has all of these things linked to me on the internet, whether it's my company or what I do or my background, but it doesn't really understand the difference of like me and a data set. I am just a data set, and that sometimes can be problematic, particularly if you're using transcripts of maybe this recording or of a Zoom meeting or something. And there's a possibility of drift. So drift is the problem. One of the bigger challenges we have with these AI tools is not that it doesn't know enough. It's that it knows too much about too many different things. So when I really just want an answer or it to complete a task that is very specific to an industry or something, I don't want it going to the world of information that it has. I actually want to focus it on something very, very specific. Um, so the problem is that I don't know if it's still true, but like a couple months ago, ChatGPT was worse at basic arithmetic than when it actually started and was launched. The reason is the OpenAI is continuing to train it on data. And if that data is about something completely different and not basic arithmetic, the brain power of the arithmetic is getting smaller and smaller compared to everything else. And it actually can get worse at it. So you have to just kind of be mindful. I think what we'll see is specializations in different tools so we can avoid that, but it is something you gotta pay attention to. And let me give you an example of AI getting something wrong. I was writing a blog article, and again, it was around this actually was true, it's last year. And it was about how the average business can use AI. Because at that point, and I think still a lot now, most of the content and trainings and everything out there on AI, it's about either something very hypothetical, like will AI take over the world, or it's about something like an enterprise level thing company could take advantage of. And so, for instance, I got a certification from the Wharton School of Business in AI strategy for business. And it was really, really good. But at the end, it said, here's the first step a company should take in order to start implementing AI. And the first step was hire 2 data scientists. I'm pretty sure there isn't a chamber on this call who has the budget or even the wherewithal to hire 2 data scientists. So these things were kind of all out there. And so we were trying to bring this down to the regular level. And I asked it, please give me examples of companies that people know using AI and the benefits they got. And it said, oh, the New York Times is using AI to write their headlines. And the headlines that the AI is writing has a better click through rate than the headlines that humans are writing. that jumped out at me because all I do is read this stuff and go on these webinars. And I had never heard of that before. And I read the New York Times. And so I said, can you please tell me where you found that information? And it linked to an article. It actually linked to an article where it found it. And so I clicked on that link and it was an article, but nowhere in that article did it actually say what the AI said it said. It made it up and then linked some other article. So I said, you did not um, send me the article where that's included. Where did you get that information? And it said, oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. So you have to be very careful. And this goes back to my point about if you don't know your own expertise or industry, it's going to be a lot harder for you to recognize when you're not getting something that's a good output. So I do a lot of writing. I know how to guide someone to write, so I can guide AI. And when someone gives me something like a blog article, I'm pretty good at looking at whether or not it's good writing or does this statistic really back up the claim that's being made. So I really encourage you to stay within your expertise when using AI. So now that we know what AI can do, or some of the things AI can do, and a lot of what it can't do, there's a good approach you can use when engaging with AI. Before we go into that, I'm just going to check to see if there's any more questions. Canva has a pretty good AI content creator as well, even the free version. Absolutely, particularly with like the images and something called image fill. If you have like a smaller image and you need something to fill like a header, but it's only like a portrait. It's really, really good. ChatGPT also good. Many times we have found that AI many times has advanced language beyond that is average reading level. Yeah, good point. Is there some way to adjust some type of setting so we don't have to mention it every time with a lower reading level or less advanced language? So there are some tools like Copy AI where you can essentially program it, and program is like too complicated of a word. You basically teach it a tone and voice that you want it to use, and then when you click that tone and voice, it'll always give you a response in that way. So you could say, fundamental language style where it's very approachable and anybody can understand it, something like that. Because I agree, you can do it manually every time, but it gets to be annoying, especially if you're using it a lot. So even ChatGPT has a little bit of a tone and voice prescription where you can change in the settings kind of how the outputs are come out to you. But I think that's also the paid version. Um, could you explain how you would create the multiple messages that you mentioned earlier? Yeah, that's going to come up in one of the use cases in about 10 minutes. So that's Beth. That's a good question, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Proofing what it writes is incredibly important. Yes, good point, Jordan. I find that is often redundant if multiple paragraphs. Yeah, agree 100%. As ChatGPT makes a suggestion, I ask it to make it sound more like me, and it's learned my voice. Okay, perfect. All good stuff. Okay, engaging with AI. So if we know that AI has a lot of potential, but we also know it has the ability to make lots of mistakes, what is a good way to treat AI? We say, and we believe very much it works, and people have found this is helpful, to treat AI as a fast-paced junior employee. So if we think about a fast-paced junior employee, they're typically ambitious. And by the way, I exemplify a lot of these issues. So usually ambitious. They're trying to make a name for itself. They rush to finish tasks, which leaves it vulnerable to mistakes. Needs a lot of guidance, lacks maturity and understanding really of like your industry and your specific organization. Your community doesn't understand any of that the way you do. But we also know the better guidance you give a junior employee, the better outputs you will get. So let's go back to a blog post just because a lot of people always ask about how this can help with content. And if I go to someone on my team, whether they're junior or not, and I say, write me a blog article about how chambers of commerce can leverage AI to better engage with their members, I will get something back. Sure, it might be good, maybe it's not. If I say, I want you to be the best content marketing specialist that's ever existed, I want you to write a blog article about all like the top 5 ways that a chamber of commerce can leverage off the shelf free AI tools to better engage with their members and why each of those members are important. The audience for this blog post is executives at chambers of commerce, particularly those who deal with member engagement the most. And I ultimately want people to learn at least one or two things from this blog post. Chamber of Commerce executives are very busy, so make sure that the language is punchy and snappy and there isn't a wasted word. If I give that guidance, obviously the output is going to be a lot more detailed and a lot better, just like a junior employee. And even if this isn't even a junior employee thing, but if I'm working with anybody and they give me something where there's a statistic or a fact or a claim, I mean, I'm always double checking it. You have to remember that AI cannot do 100% of your work. Best case scenario, you can get AI to automate, let's say 30 to 60 to 70% of a given task, depending on how complex it is. But you, the human, are needed in the beginning of that task, setting up, the guidance for the AI, and you're needed at the end to check it, make sure it's appropriate, make sure the language makes sense, make sure this actually is delivering on what you're trying to accomplish. Also, with guidance, give the AI your goals as well, and it'll give you a better output. So some people, it's funny when they start engaging with AI, because it's kind of like a robot, people start to behave like a robot and they start typing in very robotic ways and they give commands in robotic ways. But remember, these are natural language models. They're made to mimic the way that we communicate with each other. And that is the way that you want to communicate with these AI models. So you can begin, just like I did, just asking for ideas. You don't have to go in with a very set outcome in mind. Just ask for some ideas, brainstorm. Oh, that's a really interesting idea. Can you conduct some research that either would prove or disprove that? Um, Once you have some, you've gone back and forth and had a long conversation. I mean, imagine if you were sitting with a friend and or a colleague and you had a really long conversation about why this law should be passed to help businesses in your community. And at the end of it, you're like, hey, this would have been a really good blog post. I wish we would have wrote this down or recorded it. You can do that. Have that conversation with the AI, and then at the end say, turn everything we just talked about into a blog post or into an outline for a blog post. Once you have that longer form piece of content, then you could say, my chamber is very active on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, newsletters, and you can actually link your LinkedIn page so it knows how you type what you post about. You can link your Facebook page, you can link your Instagram page and say, can you please repurpose this blog article to create two LinkedIn or three LinkedIn posts, three Instagram posts, and three Facebook posts that talks about the ideas in this article. So prompting is something that there's lots of tips out there and things like that about it. Really, the best way to get good at prompting is to just do it a lot and to take some best practices and principles, but to start doing it in a way that works for you, that gets you the outputs that work for you. But even beyond that, there are some ideas and some general principles that you want to follow. So you want to provide ample context. Again, the more information you're giving the AI, the more detailed and in line with your expectation the output is going to be for you. If you tell AI to write a blog article or a LinkedIn post, it will do that. But if you also tell who's the audience of that LinkedIn post, what is the action you ideally want that audience to take, what is the purpose of the LinkedIn post, what other LinkedIn posts do you like, what is the tone and voice, all this context is really going to help the model that you're using give you the output that you want. You put that work in up front, into the prompt, having to refine that work on the back end will be a lot quicker. Role play. So this isn't as weird as it sounds. Role play is basically, again, AI knows too much about too many different things. That's why it's not as efficient as we want it to be in certain areas. One way to help it, though, is you tell the model to take on a certain persona or a certain um, uh, profession. So you could say, act as a content marketing specialist or act as a member engagement executive at a chamber of commerce or act as a accomplished sales professional, a social media guru, whatever it is. So once you tell it how to act, you're now framing the information it's going after, the way in which it writes, the way in which it thinks. So when you're having it write social media, give it a role that would make sense for a social media person. Again, the question we asked at the beginning, if you had a new employee, what would you have them do? You can also think, what role would you put them in? And think about that with AI. Here's a really good thing that we had to learn the hard way. When you're prompting in one of these AI tools, and maybe I show you what I mean, um, your ability to actually use bolding, or so let's say I want to do line breaks. I would say, I have a few ideas on blog articles for chambers using AI. And now I'm going to hit enter to do a line break. Unfortunately, it doesn't allow me to do this line break. It just sends what I have. Also, AI can understand when you're bolding things, when you're bulleting things, that all organizes the information in a way that makes the model easier to understand what you're trying to accomplish and when to reference pieces of information. So if you use like Microsoft Word or Google Docs or something to actually organize your prompt, think about it as like you're giving a set of instructions to a colleague to organize your prompt, and then you copy it from there and put it into ChatGPT, Bard, Copy AI, whatever, you will find that the output is so much better, and your chances of it confusing context between the different links that you're adding, or the different ideas, or the different people you're talking about, that confusion goes down dramatically. I highly recommend that. Again, have a conversation, provide feedback. If you're asking it to change something, tell it why you're telling it to make it shorter. So if you could just say, make that shorter, or make the language more accessible, make the language more approachable, right? Because it's too academic. You could say, make the language more approachable because the audience who's going to be reading this content don't have a strong understanding of the subject matter, but we want them to take an action. That sort of feedback helps the tool really get to the point that you want it to get to. Include goals and audiences, we talked about it. If you're just going to ask somebody to do something, that's one thing. But if you're going to tell them the purpose and the goal and who you want them to do this to or do this for, again, the outputs are a lot better. Add a tone and voice. And here's another good format. So when you give the instruction, and I just violated this, but it's better to give all the information first and then give it the action you want it to achieve. So you say, given all this information, comma, do this. Given all this information about my chamber and the benefits as you see linked on this web page, comma, write an email to Zach and GCM about the benefits of joining our chamber. That structure again helps the AI organize its thinking and how it approaches stuff, and then try and refine. Another good thing is, let's say you get a prompt that you entered and you get a really great output. Um, Save that in like an Excel sheet where you have all of your favorite prompts. You can even categorize it by all your marketing prompts, all your sales prompts, all your member engagement prompts. I would save it. One, tools go down. Two, you might just want to be using different tools, and therefore you have that library. So I think that's a really helpful thing. The other thing you could do is, let's say you did a prompt and it didn't really give you the output that you wanted, and you've now taken a lot of time to go back and forth and refine it, and finally you get that output. You can say, what prompt could I have given you at the beginning to help you arrive at that output quicker? And then it'll actually help write the prompt for you. So here's kind of what I mean. Um, So if you see here in the blog section, act as a content marketing specialist. There's your role play. Please write 200 words, say, for a blog section for GCM article, for the H2 heading, which is like your subheading for a new section in your article. Why chambers need to use AI. You can use the information in the URLs below to help write the section. And then below, I would bullet maybe all my blog articles about the subject, some LinkedIn posts about the subject, maybe someone else's blog article about the subject. I would do all of that again in the Word document and then send it over. The bottom prompt, the sales email, is one that's very important to pay attention to, the wording here. So notice the capitalization. So writer-friendly introduction to prospect. In the body include 3 ways being a member of the chamber can help with prospects' exact pain points derived from prospects' LinkedIn bio below. So I'm giving it all the instructions that I want without breaking up the command with a whole bunch of information and links. Rather, I'm having it reference what I mean by prospect below. And the same thing with workshop below. Okay, before this is all the questions that people often ask is the beware section. Before we go into that, any questions about what we just went over? Okay, yes, I see some stuff. Um, I always ask to be Ryan Reynolds and include one joke. That's awesome, Tracy. I've never done that and I'm going to do that. The webinar is, okay, Graham, Nathan, you got that one. We often tell it to be punny when writing social media posts. That's good. We tell it to include emojis and hashtags, add in member website and social media, and they always get the most interaction. I think that's really good advice, Sure. Um, Tammy, is there an existing list of good AI prompts to help set the context? Something for beginners? Yes, definitely there is. There's tons of them that exist on the internet, and they're broken down by industry specific. I actually, one thing I can share as well is I have like a Excel sheet, like a catalog of a lot of prompts that chambers or associations can use. That might be a good starting point. I'll share after this that you can all use. That'll help you get started. But you can really search like best AI, best prompts, AI prompts for engaging members of a chamber, or best AI prompts for sales, or best AI prompts for marketing, and you have a lot of good ideas. But I'll send you something that might be more specific. So there's tons of concerns about AI, and we can address a few of them now. But so there's one misconception that people have, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't take precautions. But the misconception is a lot of people think when they're typing or entering prompts into ChatGPT or Bard, that those tools are taking that information and further training the tool. It's not. Um, One, they all say that they're not doing that, but here's why I believe them. If you think about how AI models are trained, it is an extremely meticulous and deliberate process of having the right kind of data and data hygiene and classifying and coding and all this stuff. They would never want just whatever's coming out of my brain and that I'm entering into their tool to be entered into that training data. It would throw off what they want the tool to know and how they want the tool to behave. Now, times that by everybody in the world who's using it, they wouldn't want that. The other thing is it would be really risky. You could have a bad actor. Let's say I wanted to sway people's opinion about GCM. Let's say my company was a competitor of mine. I could continue to load bad information about GCM into the bot, into the channel, to make it maybe train it heavily into thinking that GCM is a bad company. So they wouldn't want that to happen. That doesn't mean you shouldn't take precautions. So if you ever call like a bank or a doctor's office and it says, this call may be monitored for quality assurance purposes, so it means that they are recording it, but it doesn't mean that a human being is listening to every call. What it means is they have some staff who will listen to a random set of calls to gauge how well the call went and then provide tips to their people on like their call staff on how to engage people better and all of that. Google and Microsoft and OpenAI, they're all doing the same thing. So it is possible that some human will look at your chat back and forth with one of these models. The likelihood of them doing something bad with that information is low, but even still, you can limit sharing your personal information so you don't have to worry about it. You can use pseudonyms. So sometimes we work with government contractors and they're like not allowed to enter certain pieces of information into anywhere that's not approved, which is mostly AI. So what you can do instead is use pseudonyms on top instead of certain pieces of information. Check privacy policies. I get that no one has time to read a privacy policy. So here's how you can use AI against AI. You just copy and paste a privacy policy into the AI model that you're using. And you can either ask it specific questions like, according to this private policy, will it read my data? according to this, will it share my information? Or you can even just ask it to summarize the privacy policy that in a way that would make sense to a chamber of commerce. Only use reputable providers. So if you're already using Microsoft for your email, or if you're already using Google for your email and for your work, you're already exposing your information to a certain level of risk. Well, Google's AI exposes you to that same risk, and same thing with Microsoft and OpenAI and with ChatGPT. So you don't really have to worry about that. The other thing is a lot of people worry about copyright. Um, like, is AI going to write something that's actually plagiarized? First of all, I've not ever seen that. Doesn't mean it's not possible. But if it does, one, you should always be checking your own work anyway. But two, if it does, these companies, Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, are indemnifying all their users, which means if I publish an article that has plagiarized something from the New York Times, that ChatGPT wrote, and New York Times sues me, Microsoft will step in and take on that lawsuit because they don't want people to get scared or worried about it. Restrict access to your usage. So it's great that you're all on this call and you hopefully will pass some of this information to your team members. But I would still be really wary of having anybody put any kind of information into a tool that hasn't really gone through some sort of training and understand some of the risks. Again, yeah, train any new team members and then involve the changing workforce. Right now, people are wondering, do we say we use AI? How do we say it? I believe in 6 months, everybody will say they use AI, whether or not they really are, because it'll be like saying, I don't use a calculator, I just do math in my head, which wouldn't be seen as like a helpful. So tone of voice, we did cover a little bit. Let me just give you an example of one. So this is just asking ChatGPT to tell me what the institute is. And then I just said, now please rewrite that with a quirky, approachable tone of voice, and you'll see the big difference. And so that's one way. Someone commented before how you can make the AI not just sound like any AI, but sound like your AI. So let's go into some of these case studies real quick. Grow and engage membership. So you can personalize engagement, which I'm about to show you. Lead scoring. So you can define, like, let's say you get like new business registrations in your community over the past 3 months. If you can have AI put them into different categories of like who should get a call from the CEO, who should get an email from the member engagement specialist, who should do this and that, and then actually take on those actions. It's a really amazing support tool. Help you make data-driven decisions, tailor high-level content to specific segments. You can write like a newsletter and then say, now I'll write this for the hospitality industry. Now I'll rewrite this for the agriculture industry. Now I'll rewrite this for manufacturing. Automate tasks for outreach and follow-up. You can record your Zoom meeting. Then you can get that transcript and say, please create all the follow-up items that I need and emails and everything from the transcript of our meeting. Support your face-to-face meetings, which can't be automated, obviously, but you can get more info going into those meetings. Improve and scale your newsletter campaigns, up-level your mail merge. So let me show you something here. So here I am having, this is on Copy AI. And what I'm asking it to do is, I'm a member of the Somerville, or we're a member of the Somerville Chamber of Commerce, among a few others. And what I'm saying is search for company and industry information about Giglio Communications and Marketing, and then I link our website. And use that information to craft a 3-step pitch email sequence for GCM on behalf of the Somerville Chamber of Commerce to become a member of the chamber. Make sure you tell the benefits of becoming a member specifically to GCM's business, values, and goals. There shouldn't be anything in the emails that can also apply to other businesses. Make sure to include clear calls to action and send times for a call to get to know the chamber better. So you can see the links. I also linked to the chamber website here so that it knows where to pull. I don't want it to pull the benefits of becoming a member of any chamber. I want it to know the benefits of becoming a member of the Somerville Chamber. And so I've linked that website. You can also like upload attach content, or maybe you have like a brochure you can attach, just like you would attach something to an email. And what it's going to do, and I've reviewed this, it does a pretty good job. So now it's writing, let's innovate together. So GCM, we think we're innovative. So that word innovative stands out to me. We've been following your impressive journey, blah, blah, blah. You'd be operating as a force for good, which is something that we say that we do. That's what we believe in, and so it's calling that out. So this is all language that's very specific to my business, and just by including those two links. Let's set up a call to discuss how we can support each other. Again, that goes to kind of like the community aspect of what we talk about. Here's a second email. We appreciate your interest in Somerville Chamber of Commerce. Our aim is to foster an environment that empowers our members. We support our members' strategic growth. Again, we're a small business. We want to grow. And then it does a third one as well. So you could essentially do this. You create that prompt and save it, and all you need to do is, if you have this list of all these new members you want to reach out to, you just need their website addresses, and you literally just will copy and paste the website address for each one and just redo this over. There is a way to scale a list and do like 100 of these at one time, but that's for like definitely another conversation. But here is what you can do, and you can send 10 of these initial outreach emails, within a half hour. Of course, you have to like check them all. So boosting advocacy and campaigns, I used to do is like advocacy and grassroots organizing, and these tools would have been so helpful. So let's say there's a piece of legislation that's coming out, or there's a vote coming up. You could link to that and then say, I want you to write an opinion piece of why this would be beneficial or not for businesses in our community in the voice of, and then whoever you are, and you could link to your LinkedIn page or something like that. You can scale your personalized education campaigns. So see what I just did for getting new members. You can literally do that for educating people on an issue. So rather than sending me an email about why some issue would affect businesses in my area, you can send me an email on why this legislation would affect my specific business, not a business like mine, but my business. And then you could do that very quickly 100, 200, 500 times. And again, there's going to be so much more noise out there that when you can speak directly to a person or to a business, you can get through a lot easier. Connect call to action to individual values. Again, like why is this important to a specific business or a specific person out of business? Increase your engagement with elected officials. That's another great resource. Is you all have contact with your elected officials, informing them, hey, this is what the business community is really interested about. Based on what you've been doing lately. Increase your engagement with current and potential donors. So we work with the chamber, and like very quickly they redid their entire donor package for their top tier. And then what they're doing now, which is incredible, is they're within a half hour are redoing every single their entire top tier membership package for different businesses. Because when you have something that big, you can't really automate it all at once, but they were doing chunks and they're having great success. Provide more comprehensive support to endorse candidates, which I know some chambers do that and some don't. So here's what I mean. So I started, write an outreach email to the Greater Somerville Dorchester Chamber of Commerce targeting Zach Giglio, and that's my LinkedIn profile. Educating this person about 2 workshops where people can give input, developing a new countrywide complete streets policy. This is really happening in Somerville. Here is the link to the call to action for that. Make sure the email stresses the importance of this initiative and connects it with the target's values and interests. There should be language about the fact that a strong resident-centered policy will help Dorchester County fund and build safer and more accessible streets for people driving in walkways. So again, you're telling me why something is important to me personally. Now, you could all do this manually. You all know these issues. You all know your businesses. The thing here is that you could do this at scale. You could do this for, maybe you don't want to do this for all of your members, but maybe there's 50, 100 of your members that you want to send a specific email to about this issue and about taking action. This is when this starts getting really, really powerful. And this all kind of like makes sense for my business. About your leadership role and influencing policy change, which I do. I used to work in policy as well. So that one is that. And then the last one is improve and scale multi-channel marketing campaign and thought leadership. So I showed you a little bit of like how I would start maybe thinking about a blog article and generating ideas. And so I'm just going to fast forward this video a little bit to the point where we already have a blog article. So I asked it to create an outline for me. And then I'm saying, okay, now write it into a blog article, which I would never do that, but for this purpose, I would usually do it section by section. For this purpose, I'm just showing you that. I'm asking to write it in Rita Berry, who's the CEO of the Somerville Chamber, and many of you know, in her voice. And it does a pretty decent job, at least she says so as well. But now that I have this blog article, let me show you. I'm asking it to create a LinkedIn post, Facebook post, and IG post, Instagram, just based on that content that I already did, and link back to the article because I want to, see I'm saying, to amplify it. And now it's going to take all the work that we've just done. And this is what I mean by scaling multi-channel marketing campaigns. You've created one piece of content, and now you're able to chop it up and disseminate it across multiple channels. And I would never post any of this right away, but it is a fantastic start and gets me really far down the road. So that is the end of that. I know I kind of jumped up, but I am staying after for questions. This is a free resource guide. If you use your phone, open up your camera app, a QR code, you can download this. It's like 48 pages, but it's clickable so you can navigate through it. And it has a lot of the things we talked about. It also has example prompts, but I'll also send that other prompt thing after as well. What do you recommend for best AI for great presentations and graphics? So thank you, Raymond. Charlie, for presentations, overall, I haven't really found anything that works too great. I will create outlines for presentations in ChatGPT and Bard and stuff. But as far as imagery, Canva is really great. And because Canva is already kind of built for presentations and you could build within, like you can create images within that. So I think Canva is definitely your best bet. But you can do some other stuff with some other apps. Thanks, Janet. I'm glad that worked. Oh yeah, that's awesome. It does look pretty edible, the egg flour. Samuel Jackson voice, that's really cool. And it's good to have fun with it. Okay, so I think that's it for now, but again, available for questions.
Yes, excellent. So with that, we will go ahead and, as mentioned, conclude the recorded portion of today's webinar. For those that do have to jump off, thank you again for joining. If you are interested in receiving the credit for CAE and CCE, please email in to the Institute inbox, and I'll go ahead and just drop that email here in the chat. For those that are able to stay on a little bit after, Zach has set aside time and we can get a little bit more into some question and answer. And we'll go ahead again and end the recording. So the questions and answers, this portion will not be recorded. This is just more informative, a little bonus of joining us today. So